Some people in this world are on the front lines of the struggle between good and evil, and some, like us, bear witness. I'm Therese Apel.
And I'm Nicole Crowell. You may have heard us as we worked on stories and series about law enforcement and crime. And it's safe to say we've seen some of the best and worst of human nature.
We decided there's no greater honor than bringing you the stories of the men and women who seek out the monsters, who speak for the victims, and who put the pieces together on some of the biggest Mississippi crime stories of our time. Welcome to Investigation Homicide. Hey guys, Therese Apel with Investigation Homicide. It's exciting to be here with you. I am without a co-host today. Nicole is out of town, and Amanda, who was going to join us, is a little under the weather. So, y'all give her good vibes in the comments. Today we are talking about something that just happened. I love it when we can talk about big cases, especially ones that just broke. If you remember, back in October, we told you the story of Shondra May. She went missing 39 years ago and then was found 22 days later, and she had been killed. There was a lot of questions surrounding that, and then they had 2 or 3 specific suspects. We, at that time, talked to Sheriff Mike Lee. Now, before we get started, I do want to dedicate this episode to Madison Police Department. They just lost Canine Astra today. She was a great dog. Our hearts go out to Madison PD, to Astra's handler, Major Robbie Sanders, and, of course, to the whole canine family, because they really are that. So anyway, here we are today. We're here to talk about the Shondra May case. It has broken. There has been an arrest as of Tuesday. I've got Sheriff Mike Lee and Chief Deputy Brad Ellis here with me. And so let's start off here. Sheriff, you've given us your resume before. Tell us a little bit about, just briefly, tell us about you, and then we're going to talk to Chief Deputy Brad Ellis as well.
Well, again, I'm an old hat, closer to the end of my career than the beginning. Been doing this about 32 years. And for the last 17 years now, I've been the sheriff, and that's when I was handed this case.
Okay, good deal. And I guess we call you Chief Ellis. I always feel like Chief Deputy is long. So, Brad, tell us about you.
So I started at the sheriff's office about 16 years ago. I worked patrol there for just a little while, moved over to narcotics, worked narcotics for about 15 years, and then recently moved over to chief deputy.
Good deal. So tell me about, now we've talked about kind of how you came across this case, but recap for those people that are just joining us.
All right. And pretty much back in New Year's Eve of 2007 is actually when I took over a little early. And Sheriff William Richardson was retiring, and in his office was a box that where had a few papers, had some good size envelopes in there, different assortment of folders and things. And he let me know this Shondra May case. And from that moment on, of course, and we said this in the earlier interview that, of course, I grew up in Scott County and was 16 years old on February 4th, 1986 when this happened. So growing up and knowing the fears it brought the community, I was looking very forward to the opportunity to take a look at this case and see where it had been brought, which had come a really long way with the investigators from the Mississippi Highway Patrol to the Sheriff's Office to Hinds County Sheriff's Office. Many, many folks had spent many hours prior to me receiving the case and getting the case. And from that moment on, I just kind of assigned the case to myself because we're, again, extremely busy as a sheriff's office. Investigators there, my chief investigator is Willie Anderson. He was with me on the first day that I was there, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that on many occasions, day and night, he's helped with this case. But kind of got immersed at that point. That's when it was handed over.
Okay, great. And Brad, are you from Scott County originally?
Originally, I grew up in Lee County. I
Okay.
moved to Scott County in 1998.
So did you grow up with this case as something that you were aware of?
Yes, this was something I remember my mama telling me, even like especially after I got my driver license. She would always refer back to Shondra May. Just be careful out there. If somebody flashes your lights at you at night, make sure you pull over somewhere where it's well lit. And I just remember that going through the entire community. It was just it struck fear in everybody.
Sure. So it was kind of an urban legend that wasn't a legend. It was very real. For those of you that maybe didn't see last time or haven't kept up with the news, Shondra May was 19 years old.
She was 17 on February the 4th of 1986. Her birthday would have been February the 26th, and that was the day that her body was found in Bolton.
Right. And that was after she had been coming home from work, and her car was found in the middle of the road, door open, everything was still in it except her driver's license.
Yeah.
And that's where the investigation started.
That's right. And that kind of recaps the whole. Again, it was February night. She was on her way home. She had called her mother after she had stopped at a TGNY, which was our local Walmart at the time, and that she normally called her mother because of her mother's condition. She was ill and had many medical conditions, so she wanted her to know that she was on the way home. I assume probably to see if she needed her to pick up anything. She had just bought a Valentine's Day card for her boyfriend and let her mother know she was on the way home. Nearly an hour later, when she did not arrive home, is when her mother noticed that she was not home and was on the phone with her father, walked outside, and this is the eerie part of it. The car itself, where she was parked, the road they live on is Richard May Road, and her car was visible from her driveway, probably anywhere from 75 to 100 yards.
It's crazy. She almost made it home.
Almost home.
So just letting you guys know, if you're watching live, you can submit questions and we will see them in real time or almost real time. So you can ask questions if you have them. But okay, Sheriff, so tell us what happened Tuesday morning.
All right. Tuesday morning, Chief Deputy and I, along with other members of the Scott County Sheriff's Office, we prepared for the night before, actually, we prepared for this arrest warrant. I had notified Sheriff Tucker in Madison County that we were coming and who it was. And, of course, not only did he send plenty of assistance, but he himself came. And, of course, the men and women who have continually worked with us on this case with the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation. We saddled up in Scott County. We came to Madison County, and we went to Movie-Town Road. I won't get specific of the location. I don't want people going to find this location. But he was staying in a camper and with a female. We don't know if she was his wife or his girlfriend. He refers to her as his wife. But that morning, Rubin was arrested without any incident. Rubin, when we brought him out, the chief deputy was rolling him down the stairwell, mentions about being frail. Rubin's frail because he wants to be frail. He has medical conditions, but Rubin is able to walk. And so that arrest went without incident, and since then, members of our staff at the Sheriff's Office, as well as captain with the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, have been interviewing Rubin. This will be the third day.
Sure, and his name is Rubin Weeks, and he was one of, at the time, the original time of the case, there were 3 major suspects, right? I mean, 2 major ones, and then one that was kind of tangential because of one little piece of information that they had.
Right.
Can you talk about what you know about the investigation at the time, and then kind of how did it develop into what we have now?
Well, again, and we've always said that, the one thing that has helped and hindered this has been time. So because of that, the ability to go out and process scenes and get DNA has gotten better, and we are able to get those samples and submit those. So that time has caught up to this, without going into what evidence we have, as well as people continuing to talk, or us being able to talk with potential eyewitnesses. And we were able to get some statements from people that kind of pushed us over the edge once we talked and had a roundtable meeting with the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation and our department.
So when you say, obviously, let me go ahead and just go back to the place where there are things we can't say because it does need to go to trial. And so I know that a lot of you guys that are watching and listening, you hope that you'll get to hear all the juicy details. We still have to wait for trial, and then one day you'll get to know everything. But now, back in the day, Rubin Weeks, he was just kind of a creepy dude. He was just somebody that I understand, as we talked about last time, he said some creepy things. He kind of had that creep vibe. And then it's documented, the media had reported that there were some hairs at the crime scene. He was a redhead, and there were some red hairs at the crime scene. When we talked in October, it wasn't something that we were making well known, but it was something where I think we knew that there was going to be some movement at some point. Where were you guys in the investigation at that point?
In October, we had crossed off all other suspects by thorough investigation, and that the only one that we could not cross off was Rubin, but we were waiting on not only results but also statements that we gained from other people on the outside. Now, I will say this, and you said it best, there are some things that we can't discuss, but I don't want anybody to take that. It seems like people have filled those gaps with information and made things seem this way or that way. Right now, we believe that Rubin Weeks is the one responsible for kidnapping and raping and murder of Shondra May. If anyone else will be arrested, it will be after the fact of that happening. And when I say that, I mean a potential witness that may have known that this happened but did not come forward prior to this happening.
Sure. Now, so we know that it kind of led up to the other day. You guys knew that this was your guy. You're going to Madison County to get him. He had been in prison, though, for quite some time in Missouri. Tell us about that.
He was in prison in Missouri and he actually served a 30-year prison sentence there. He had kidnapped and raped a young lady there, and had pretty much the similarities are super eerily as the way that he flashed his lights and stopped her, was able to gain control of her, get her out of the car, took her to a secluded area, did horrible things, and he taped her up with tape that he had with him and left her there. And luckily, and, you know, God's hands, that she was able to later get out of those bindings and get to someone to get help, and later identified him as her attacker. And, you know, there's some other things that go in there, but that is the gist of it. The good thing is you have a very good witness there.
Absolutely. And it's almost like her living through this gave us the exact picture of what probably happened to Shondra.
Yes. Again, the similarities are eerie, but the big similarity would be when the way that she was taped and the process of using tape. I think that that similarity in itself, but also things that were said and done and the way that it occurred, it just, you can almost see this happening on February 4th, 1986, when Shondra was abducted.
Absolutely. Now, Brad, when you guys are going out there, did you know what to expect? Did you know that Rubin, like, obviously we get the impression that he was probably able to walk without his wheelchair, but he wanted his wheelchair. Did you know what he was going to be like?
Not exactly. We kind of did some pre-planning before we got there. You know, anytime we have somebody like that we're going after a violent offender, we always try to make sure we be as tactful as we can. We'd already been in the area and looked at the area. Wanted to, just in case there was, a conflict there, we would, prepared the best way we could to be able to mitigate anything to keep any innocent bystanders from being impacted on that. So we prepared for the worst and hope for the best.
So when you say in case there's any conflict, that's like if he had resisted or there had been a standoff or
Right.
something along those lines.
Right.
So you guys actually went out there and kind of sized up the place.
We did. We had done surveillance on it and just kind of kept our eyes on it to make sure we could, like I said, we didn't want anybody getting hurt that was innocent by no means.
Sure. Well, then I'll ask this to both of y'all. Did he seem to know that y'all were coming? Was he surprised to see you?
I think he probably felt that this day was coming. He whenever we went in, I don't think he was as surprised as someone that didn't have anything to do with it would be.
He's probably heard the dogs barking for a long time.
I would imagine.
Yeah, his response, Brad, myself, and a Madison County deputy were the first two in, and where I would respond of, "Oh my gosh, what's this about?" and "No, y'all got the wrong guy." That the response we got was it was almost a question for the rape, and then he just seemed resigned to his fate. Where I believe that a person that especially just spent 30 years and is finally out, would have said, "Y'all got the wrong guy," and we did not hear that.
So, did y'all tell him what you were there for, or did he realize this is Scott County and then he's like, "Oh, is this for the rape?"
Well, when we made entry into his camper, he asked, "What is this for?" And I explained to him that this is for the kidnapping and murder of Shondra May. I think is how I said it. I don't believe that I said rape at the time, but mentioned those two things to him. And after that, it was just, well, let me get my medicine. Let me, prepare myself to go to Scott County. It was not, he never argued about what we were there for.
Well, he's probably been looking over his shoulder for 40 years.
I believe so, yes.
So tell me about, since you guys have had him, I know y'all and various others have been talking to him for the last 3 days. What is his demeanor like?
His, he, again, what you saw on the news and in pictures is not the full story. Rubin, again, is able to get up and be active, even though he does have some ailments, and we're making sure that he's treated properly there in the detention center. But as far as, and this is the weird part, and we just kind of both noticed this and made comments throughout the interviews that most people are scared of jail. They're fearful of not knowing what to expect when they go to prison, and you kind of have that over their head that sometimes that helps get a confession. Rubin spent 30 years in prison with some of the worst guys in Missouri, and so he is just at home as in our detention center as he would be in his camper.
It's probably nice compared to where he was in Missouri.
Yes.
So, and I'm looking at the questions here. We'll start with this one. What was the reaction of his girlfriend or wife?
She was kind of a little hysterical at first, or I say at first. She obviously wanted to know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Then, she was, crying and sobbing a little bit, but I don't know, it was a little strange, her reaction. You know, it wasn't the whole, you know, you got the wrong person.
Right.
It was just kind of, I don't know, it was just kind of strange.
Like she might have known something, but
Yeah,
it was hard to
maybe.
tell. Okay, gotcha. Well, another question they asked was, do we know why? Has he told anybody why he would have done this at the time?
No, and we may never know that. To be honest with you, we may never know his why he was like that. You know, the only thing that I can think of is that he was, you know, a sexual deviant, and again, we know that from the victim and the way that she was treated in Missouri, and she lived to be able to tell that. She's an amazing woman, by the way. She has been wonderful while we've been investigating him and helping us out. But you know, all I can think of is a sexual deviant, and going back to some of his past statements that he has said. He has said that, you know, he has urges, and that's kind of the way he described it.
And so that's, I mean, if we're realizing that we have a lot of true crime fans here, I know it's on everybody's mind. This is kind of a serial killer in the making. I mean, he didn't end up with 3 kills or whatever like that, but he had a definite MO established, at least in Shondra's death and in the situation in Missouri.
Right, and we're investigating more. Of course, his DNA, when CODIS became available, which is the process of where we upload DNA from known sex offenders, that was carried out while he was in Missouri, and nothing has hit. But we continue to get calls, especially here in the last few days, of things that we should investigate, possible other cases that occurred around or near Scott County around those times.
Now, he seems like he's and correct me if I'm wrong, is he a big guy?
He was. Rubin was probably about 6'3", maybe, just guessing. And at the time, he was about 300 and some odd pounds, maybe more, when Shondra was. He was big framed and was able to carry that frame pretty easy. But again, he, you know, as you can imagine, the toll that prison will take, he is less of a man than he went in, and so he's got that frail look now. But you know, he was a big guy and able to control the situation we know in both cases.
It seems like the reason I asked that is just I had just watched something on one of the ID channels or something like that where there was a particular big guy that was carrying out stuff like this, and the victims were all able to describe him as they all incidentally used the word ogre. And I was thinking when I was looking at the old mugshot that I had of Rubin Weeks, I thought that might be how I would describe him.
That's a good description when you say. I think that's.
Well, okay, so do we think then, and we've got another question about, is it true that he committed other crimes in the 1980s in Mississippi? I know his name was all throughout the archives that I found in the old newspapers, but it was things like it looked like he was an informant in a bank robbery, or there were situations where he was involved in other things, but I didn't see anything but these 2 sexual crimes.
Here's the thing with Rubin, regardless of what you think that you know about or what is out there, Rubin has interjected himself in all these throughout the years.
Oh.
He has admitted to a crime before that we know that he did not commit. I'm not sure why he did that, but he, you know, throughout time he has kind of interjected himself into things so that Rubin is someone who does crave attention. And so I think that the things that you read, it's usually not because Rubin was involved. Like you were saying, he was an informant, things like that I think are things that he may have helped out with because he would have heard or wanted the attention from it.
Yeah, well, I was reading the article that I was referencing, and it was funny. It just kept saying Weeks said blah blah blah, Weeks said, and I was thinking, as a journalist, putting in an awful lot of emphasis on what this guy is saying. And of course, at the time, they didn't know who he was going to turn out to be or why his name would be well known later. So, do we think, how long has he been out of prison in Missouri then?
I believe that he got out in late 2023 from his sentence was they gave him probation for life in Missouri. Mississippi had 2 older cases on him. One was for breaking and entering in Scott County, and 2 uttering forgery of checks, in 2 counts of that in Bolivar County. And he was on probation for those. And so Mississippi said, yes, we will take him to serve out those times. And he served about a year in MDOC custody, and then was released in late 2023, I believe.
So he's only been out a little more than a year.
Yes, yes.
Now, is there a reason to think that he could have done anything since he got out?
I don't think that we've run into anything that he could have done. Even though we won't discount it, it wouldn't amaze me if we get some other things to look into. But primarily, Rubin is out of resources, and I believe is using the lady that he's with, and they are together all the time. And again, he's had some ailments and been in and out of the hospital, but nothing too major.
Mm-hmm. Daniel, could you scroll up to Kimberly Sharp's question? I see Amber asking about that, but I don't see what it was. There's that her right there. Do we think he had help, and how did she get so close to home and he was still able to take her?
Well, that, again, without going into the specifics of the case and saying the things that we exactly know that happened, we know that he used either a light, a blue light, or he used his headlights to stop her. We know that, and the reason we know this is he'd made an earlier statement that he had told her that he was a Scott County deputy and needed her to come with him.
Oh, wow. When did he say that?
And that, when did he say that?
Mm-hmm.
It would have been in the late 90s. They were doing interviews with him, and he was admitting and then recanting those stories. Chief Ellis and I had a chance to speak to Mr. Richard May, who is now deceased, and that's Shondra's father. And he pretty much told us that anybody, and this was before we knew this about the statement, he said, though, on her abduction, if someone had authority or showed aggression toward her, that Shondra was a shy person and would have gone with them. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have been hard to coax her. And again, you can't, please don't look at law enforcement like today as it was back in 1986.
Sure, it's been
Things
40 years.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a whole different ball game.
Yes, so we looked different back then, especially small community, to the way our parents and what we do now. So could he have done that, had that as a ruse to say, yes, come with me, and her believe that? Absolutely.
Now, I want to kind of turn this, we've talked a lot about Rubin. I want to talk about you guys that put this case together, because I posted something about it on Facebook the other day, and one of the readers posted some names of other investigators, and I said, well, I don't know those guys, and she said, well, they were the first 3 original investigators. And then you look through the years, there have been so many sets of eyes on this, and then I just know from talking to some other folks that at some point a bunch of you guys who have been around for a minute said, let's solve this case. And it was some MBI guys and whatever. Can you talk about kind of the passing of the torch and how you guys were able to bring it home?
Absolutely, because there's neither myself nor Chief Ellis nor any of the MBI agents who have been with us day and night on this case, we would not be to where we are without what people in the past have done. We would not have had a super idea of, because the crime scene was kind of flawed at first, and investigators back then kind of were able to repiece that and give us detailed situation of that. Plus, uh, there is, when you start reading the case, investigator Neil Bradford was one of the first investigators, and he was called by Mr. Richard May. He was with the Highway Patrol, and they were CIB at that time. And he gave a full description of the days ahead there. But I wish and I hope that I'm able to sit down one day and literally write remember everybody that I need to say thank you to. It's huge. This case file is, we're the keepers of that case file, but by no means do I want to say that that don't give me credit, or my department don't give MBI, give all the ones that were there that have put something in this case. But it is a super long list. And so I just want people to understand that we know a lot about the case, and I'm glad that we are where we are and that we were able to get Rubin in custody and charge him with this. But by no means was it our design alone.
Now, how does it feel? And Chief Ellis, I'll ask you first. How did it feel to know that you're pushing this wheelchair with this dude in it that y'all have been searching for 40 years, almost 40 years?
It was almost it was kind of surreal. Somebody that, like I said, I was 6 years old when this case happened. I mean, I was little. Yeah. But it's something that I've always heard, and then I know it's something the sheriff's always been passionate about. This case has always been something he's been very, very passionate about. Ever since I've been at the sheriff's office, I don't remember very much time going by where he didn't have that case in front of him on his desk. It was just kind of a monumental type deal to say, hey, this is the guy right here, and we got him. Like I said, I've walked into his office many, many times, and that case is all over his desk. He's going through videos, he's going through case files, and to kind of be a part of that, was kind of surreal.
And Sheriff, you were 16 when this happened, and you didn't even live here at the time.
I was.
But you've kind of, since you've been sheriff, taken it on as something that you wanted to see closed while you're here. What is it? Is it real to you yet?
Chief Ellis and I were talking about it on the ride over, that we didn't get much sleep the night before. I sure didn't. And thinking about it, and but it's almost bittersweet, and we were all present with, and I got as many of the guys that, especially that are now working on this case, including the cold case guys that we have that are working on it, to investigators from NBI and my staff. And when Tim showed up, and as soon as we saw Tim downstairs, sheriff's office, it's 2 stories, but when we saw Tim downstairs, we were outside, and Tim was already crying, so we brought him in, but we all had a moment with him.
And Tim is her brother.
And Tim is her brother, yes, sorry about that. But your heart breaks at the same time, so we all talked about the rush and picking him up, and then you kind of then you see the victim's family, and heart kind of breaks for them. So it was a very surreal day.
I bet. Well, so what now?
Well, what we'll do is we'll continue to take a look at the case. No case, even when an arrest is made, is it anyway finished. And we have not finished the case. We'll continue to look at this with the other men and women. As time goes and things come out, we'll probably be able to explain more. But right now it's just we're super excited that we got to this point.
Sure. So, and just to kind of, let's see, we just got a big long question. Do you not think there are others involved, or the work of only could he have been paid to carry it out for others? I think so. I think one thing that I want to say is, in my experience as a crime reporter, especially with a case this old, you've had people through the years, and especially since the advent of the internet, who have made up all kinds of scenarios, all kinds of possibilities. It's very possible that he carried this out by himself, and that there would be nobody else that did this with him because she was a small human and he is a very large human at the time. So, I mean, you can address that if you want. Could he have been paid to carry it out for somebody else? Was there somebody that would have wanted her dead?
No, there's no rumor. There's no evidence to that. Um, Understand that, again, the best crimes are committed by single persons, and that way they don't have to worry about people talking. When we see that multiple people commit a crime, it's good because we usually have people talking and we're able to get suspects fast. All these rumors, the May family went through a lot.
Yeah.
And even people pointing fingers at them. The Sheriff Glenn Warren, again, he was convicted for something, but do I think I think he wanted to solve this case also. Do I think any of his, family members that have been scrutinized, and himself, there's been other law enforcement people throughout time that have been scrutinized that it was this, but I think people were putting, they were filling in the blanks, and the truth is that right now we believe that Rubin did this by himself.
Well, and given that he did it by himself in Missouri, that makes sense.
It does, and again, thank goodness that that amazing lady was able to escape and tell her story. But we know 100% he was by himself, and the similarities are very eerie.
Now, speaking of her, I know last time we talked about this on our podcast, you referred to her as Superwoman. Have you had a chance to talk to her since this happened? Have you been able to give her the news?
Not since the arrest. I did need a photograph, and I spoke with her maybe a month or so ago, that I needed a photograph of her about that time so that we can put that into the case file of what she looked like and what we know, and it would help with the descriptions and things that were in there if we had an idea of what she looked like. What is amazing is that when you look at the two pictures of her next to Shondra and you see the sizes, they are very similar in size and look a lot alike.
That's what I was going to ask next.
That's it. But, she is an incredible witness, and, she survived this, and it has thank goodness she was able to think on her feet when this occurred and was able to get away. But, she's a great woman, and I know her name is out there, but I just don't want to say it so that people know that went through this. So.
Yeah, no, and I think as a journalist, I've always kind of had a rule that you don't identify the victims of sexual assault unless they come forward and identify themselves, or if you have a homicide, obviously that's going to be the case. But if she's out there watching, thank you for being brave and for making this possible. And I'm getting emotional about it because just something like this is so momentous. All right. Is there anything you want people to know that I wouldn't know to ask you guys?
The good thing is that you also have been passionate about this case, which helps. Again, we believe that he acted alone, and so you didn't have a lot of people out there speaking all the time, but yourself as well as others, but especially you, have been great about pushing this. And I know I'm saying this here, but it's true. It's part of it. But one thing that, and we touched on it a little bit, was that if this does jar anyone's memory of that time in 1986 and the name Rubin Weeks and anything that may occurred, we do want them to call the Scott County Sheriff's Office. It can be anonymous or it can be, by name, but we're just looking to see if there are possibly any other victims that may not have been killed, may not have been kidnapped, but may have been raped. Anything like that. We're taking a look at any of those, and we want people to call.
Well, it certainly seems like there could definitely be other victims because it doesn't seem like he would start off like this. Like if Shondra is his first victim, that's pretty advanced.
Right. And, I think the 30-year prison sentence, that's why we didn't have another.
Yeah, I think so too. Anything you want to add, Chief Ellis?
No, I mean, like I said, the sheriff pretty much covered everything. I'll just, I'm just glad it's we are where we are. I'm just ready to push on forward with the rest of it.
Awesome. Okay. Well, if you guys are.
I think so. One thing that's interesting about this kid, he mentioned Leake County. She went to school in Leake County. And so, that's kind of been a sister county with this case. So, it seems like everyone connected. Everybody has a connection that was there. And I wish I could think of his name, and I'm going to dread not remembering it because he gave me a card. But we had some handcuffs that were engraved, and it had Shondra. It said "Justice for Shondra," and was her picture. And Robert Cullum had gotten those engraved, and they passed those cuffs to me to put them on Tuesday morning. And the deputy from Madison County that was with us goes, "I engraved those. It was my company that engraved those."
Oh, wow.
Now that morning, till the sheriff told him, "Hey, we're going to he would have had no idea. And so things just become, they've just come full circle, and the Lord puts us in places we don't expect.
And I always like to talk about that aspect of things too. Do you feel like God had a big hand in, especially the last few years as you guys worked on it?
Yeah, one thing that I'm very proud of the men and women who work at my department is one thing I can say is our faith there is strong. The Lord is present in what we do. If you see us out for lunch, you'll notice that we always pray before we eat. None of the cases we have, and let me tell you, this case is huge, but every unsolved case that we have or every case that we're looking into, we handle all these exactly the same way. We've got a lot of hardworking people that every day work hard to solve cases there and to work narcotics and everything else. And there's no doubt, though, that in looking at those men and women, back to your question, is that God has a hand in this, and he put these people not only in my life but where they are today to help in this.
Good deal. Anything else, guys? Parting thoughts?
I think that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for coming. We really appreciate y'all, and congratulations on finally closing this one out.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you guys that were here with us asking questions. Obviously, if you want to go back to October and watch the previous episode, you'll see more about this case. Some of it, some good old-fashioned Google will work for some of these questions that we didn't get to. But we appreciate you guys watching and listening. You can follow us on any of the Facebook pages that air the podcast. Of course, that's Investigation Homicide. Anything with my name on it, almost, Nicole Crowell, Amanda Johansson. I think Scott County is going to post it later. You can also find it on any podcast platform. And thank you to Daniel Anderson and Audio Alchemy for producing our podcast. He always does a great job. And if you need a podcast, that's the guy to go to. Thank y'all for watching, and we will see you next week with Madison Rankin County District Attorney Bubba Bramlett. Have a great week.